my name is Marcel Kintscher. I'm a sales engineering consultant, and I have been 8+ years in data and AI. And I'm helping I'm helping to link Calibo's platform engineering approach to tangible business value.
And this is the Calibo platform demonstration. This is a persona-specific demonstration, so feel free to use parts of it depending on which type of user you are interacting with at a certain company. But the goal is really to explain better to the different type of personas in a company what is in it for them using the Calibo platform. That being said, let's jump in. We are using an example organization to go through this demonstration. The organization is called Tasty Bites. It's a global food truck network providing localized menu options in 15 different countries and 30 major cities. They're currently counting 450 local food trucks, and their goal is to increase that number 20% year over year over the next 5 years to end up having a total number of food trucks of 1,120. Their current sales are 105 million per year, and their objective is to grow this 25% year over year over the next 5 years, ending up with 320 million per year after the next 5 years. And the last KPI that they are generally looking at and hope to improve is the Net Promoter Score, currently at 3, and their objective is to improve this to 40. Now let's keep these main KPIs in mind. And the company has identified a few digital and data transformation initiatives that they need to drive in order to help their food truck owners actually achieving these results. The first one being to streamline the onboarding process for new food truck drivers, which typically involves a lot of data handling, data entering, and so on. The second one, increasing the retention rate of existing customers by identifying customers who could churn and do countermeasures respectively. The next one, to identify and recommend right locations to the drivers based on the sales potential, helping them to sell more in a day. The next one being providing recommended menu options to customers based on their own flavor and own taste, helping also the organization to achieve more sales. And the last one, forecasting the demand so that the drivers can maintain stock of all the ingredients required, so that they don't have to tell customers that they can't deliver the order. A team has been put together by the Tasty Bites organization that is supposed to drive this digital transformation and actually create data and digital applications for the food truck owners and also the customers, helping Tasty Bites to achieve those results. We have Igor, the infrastructure architect. Then we have Steven, the solution architect. Dan, the full stack developer. Paul, the product manager. Anna, the analytics engineer. And Sylvia, the data scientist. Now let's start with Igor, the infrastructure architect. Typically, his activities are around infrastructure provisioning, ensuring the infrastructure security, governing user accesses and permissions, and managing virtual development teams. Basically doing all the groundwork so that the development team can actually focus on the development of the application. And later on, after we actually go in as Igor into the Calibo platform and show a few of the things that Igor would be doing there, we are going to compare what are the things that we have done in Calibo and how would they have been done in the traditional way. So with that being said, let's jump into the Calibo platform as Igor. So we are logged in here as Igor Island, and actually my face is in front. So Igor Island, we're logged in as Igor Island, the infrastructure architect. And when we log in, typically this is the place where Igor would spend most of his time, the platform setup. In Calibo, we call this the environment provisioning, and it is actually the first step that you will be doing in the platform. Of course, like with any other platform, you can integrate with your Active Directory, allowing you to onboard users faster from the Active Directory. And then as soon as your users are onboarded, you can assign them roles. And there are two types of roles, the platform role and the product role. The platform role defining what their capabilities are inside of Calibo, and then the product role defining the role actually in the team that's working on digital applications. So for example, the product role for Paul would be, if we look for Paul here, then the product role should be, Jira admin's quite fine because he is basically then the product owner defining the user stories. You can define other roles in here and you can create teams, which is really handy because later on when you actually start developing projects, you want to be able to add teams to a project so that they can start the development there. The next section is the cloud platform tools and technologies. In here, you can integrate your whole tech stack from your cloud platforms for infrastructure provisioning, any technologies you use in the development, CI/CD pipeline, Kubernetes for deployment, source code repositories, agile planning tools, databases, and so on. Having done all that, Calibo is connected to your complete tech stack, allowing you to now orchestrate this tech stack and actually putting it into use and providing everything to your development team so that they don't have to worry about infrastructure provisioning anymore and can just focus on the development of the applications. Before we do that, let's talk about one more thing, which is called standards. And in standards, we have policy templates. A policy template is a super handy tool for IGO, and IGO has already created one, which is called the Tasty Bytes Policy Template Production. And as we can see, it's also already assigned to a product. So let's look into this, what this guy actually is. So in here, we give it a name and a description, and then we have a few tabs. And this will be seen in all the places around the Calibo platform again and again, because those are the 4 stages that every project, every product, digital application will have to go through in the development process. So if we go into the define stage, here's where IGO can basically attach the Jira account of Tasty Bytes so that by default, all user stories that the team creates will be synchronized in Jira and will be synchronized with the Calibo platform and visible inside of the Calibo platform. In the design stage, typically the stage in which the solution architect comes in and provides the design patterns based on those user stories defined in the define stage. Typically these assets, you would want to document them in some place. Many companies are using Confluence, so is Tasty Bytes. So here's where you add this technology to this policy template. And then when we go to the development, we also link a GitLab or some other source code repository, and we define the technologies that the team is allowed to use when this policy template is assigned to a product that they are working on. So when we go in here, then we can see a whole collection of technologies that we can theoretically add to this policy template, but only the ones highlighted in blue, IGO has selected for this policy template. So for front-end applications, the team is only allowed to use React 17.02. For back-end, only Python. As databases, they selected a few more. So let's keep those in mind because we will later see what this does actually in the development process. So let's keep those in mind. The last stage being deployment. In here we can define the deployment technologies. I would like to highlight one more thing where we can define standard machine sizes as well, allowing the development team, or basically the full stack developer later, to not having to worry about by accident spinning up a too large machine. IGO is well aware of the cost governance policies and stuff, so he is really defining those standard machines in here and also a maximum number of machines. Let's also keep those in mind. We will see later what this does. Last thing being, in terms of CI/CD pipeline automation, there's a cool handy tool, Jenkins, which has been added to this Calibo tenant as well. And Using this, you can define standard CI/CD pipelines for any given technology. And you can customize this, adding steps, removing steps, and so on. And by default, any application that's getting deployed using one or multiple of these technologies will automatically go through these steps. So everything is already set and handled and will automatically be applied later when the development team starts the development. Good. Okay, so having seen all this, let's go and get a quick preview into the development. So the development would happen here in the digital portfolios, and in there we already have a Tasty Bytes transformation 2024 portfolio, and one product has already been created. If we go into that, then we see that also one feature has been created, and I go in here a bit quicker because this is then the actual development environment. And if we want to, for example, add a new technology to this application, for example, want to write some code or something like that, then we can see that only the technologies that have been selected in the policy template are available from here. All right, so that is about it for Aigo's contribution in the Calibo platform. Now let's go back to our presentation and actually summarize, okay, what would be the typical activities of an infrastructure architect to repeat, infrastructure provisioning, ensuring the infrastructure security, governing user accesses and permissions, managing virtual development teams. Now, let's think about how you would do that in the traditional way and then compare to what we've seen in Calibo. So in the traditional way, you would probably, for infrastructure provisioning, have to log into multiple systems, actually, for example, logging into your cloud platform, spinning up a machine, configuring the machine, and so on. You would have to do a lot of repetitive work in every new project because you simply don't have a tool to define some policies, right, that apply to any new project right away. And you would probably waste a lot of time on lengthy groundwork activities. And so when we look at Calibo, and what we've just seen is you can actually provide infrastructure by just clicking a button. We've seen that in the development environment where the team could automatically add technology to the stack which was made available to them by the policy template. The next step being the infrastructure security. Now, in the historical way, Aigo would probably have spent a lot of time on trying to keep the overview on all policies, on everything, on all settings in the different systems, and having to manage them, in scattered places, so to say. Now, with Calibo, he can define a policy template once and assign this to any number of products or product portfolios, which automatically ensures that the team is using the right technologies and so on. And it would also do reinforced security checks across the complete tech stack, which you can also define as part of the policy template. Governing user accesses and permissions. How would you do that in the traditional way? You'd probably waste a lot of time on lengthy IT processes, getting those accesses. Would probably risk not complying with companies' policies. And in Calibo, having your tech stack integrated once, you can define the control model using roles, permissions, and policy templates. And then you can scale this to any extent and without having to worry without having to risk not complying with the company policies. And if the policy changes, then you would only have to change something in one place instead of going to so many different systems and changing it there individually. Now the last part being managing virtual development teams. So really organizing your people and enabling them to start with the development right away. Now in the traditional way, you would simply not have a tool to manage your development teams so holistically. Because in Calibo, what we've seen is we can create teams, add users to it, and then we can assign roles, one linked to the platform and one linked to a product. And actually, when you define these roles, you can say which technologies they should have access to, what they should be allowed to do as part of the development of the product. So in a nutshell, really for Igo as an infrastructure architect, Calibo comes in really handy because it's connecting your standard tech stack once. Then it helps you to provision infrastructure and access permissions with a few clicks, enabling the development team to focus on the development rather than the infrastructure provisioning itself. Our customer experience has shown that there's a time-saving potential of about 40% for infrastructure architects like Igo. And so for you, if this is your role, then hopefully you're seeing a lot of value in the platform too.